Time I'd like to turn today's program over to Jeff Kaplan. Jeff, the floor is yours.
Hey, thank you very much, Nate, and thank you all for being with us today. It's my pleasure to be hosting and moderating this session with a cross-section of very interesting individuals who are intimately involved in today's cloud computing marketplace. And my role is going to serve as not only the moderator, but the master of ceremonies, and in some cases, I'm sure, a little bit of a referee, because these guys all have pretty strong opinions about where this market is at and where it's going, although I do think they're in general agreement about the overall evolution of the market and its direction. But I think you'll find that they each have some pretty unique perspectives on how we've gotten here and where we're going. And that's the point of this event, is to talk a little bit about the state of the cloud computing market today and where we can expect it to go and how it will evolve in the year 2012. For any of you who are not familiar with myself and Think Strategies, let me give you just a little background. Think Strategies is a consultancy which I founded 10 years ago to focus in on this transformation of the technology industry from being a product-centric to being a services-driven market. You know, back then we were talking about ASPs, or application service providers, and utility computing. And of course today it's all about SaaS and cloud computing. And what we do is we help IT and business decision makers understand the implications of these changes from a sourcing strategy point of view. We also work with a lot of solution providers who are trying to determine what it means from a go-to-market standpoint. And investors along the way who are trying to figure out which ponies to bet on and how to get those horses across the finish line. Over the past few years, we've also had a couple of online directories we've created, a software as a service and managed service showplace that we merged together into a single cloud computing showplace at the beginning of this year, which now has over 1,850 software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service companies listed across over 90 different categories. And while that may seem like a lot, we're convinced it's only half of the population of companies who are playing in this increasingly interesting marketplace today. It's part of the reason why we're here, because of the proliferation of players. We firmly believe that integration is becoming a more important issue. And let's talk a little bit more about what's happening in this marketplace as a backdrop for this discussion. Anyone who follows the latest market research from the various industry analyst firms has probably seen some of these data points, but they're worth repeating and reinforcing in the context of what's happening in this marketplace. You see, for instance, recently projected that the digital universe of information and content is likely to expand over 50% this year alone to approximately 2 trillion gigabytes, which is hard to even fathom, never mind imagine. But the fact of the matter is that they expect that 80% of new software offerings will be delivered via the cloud. And you remember that IDC, like the other market research firms, were a bit hesitant to make these kinds of bold estimates in the past, but they are fully on board today as they've seen customers move very quickly into some new software as a development, or as a service rather, and cloud services arena. And they expect about a third of all software purchases to be via the cloud by 2014. I also noticed a week or so ago that Cisco, who has been maintaining its own index of cloud computing traffic, is estimating that that traffic will increase 12-fold next 3 years, and we will probably jump from somewhere around 130 exabytes of data to 1.6 zettabytes in the same year, 3-year period, a 66% compounded growth rate. Now, that means that cloud traffic, that is the data traffic powered by the cloud, will jump from approximately 11% today to a third of all traffic by the year 2015. That's an enormous jump. And even Gartner Group suggesting that those companies who are grappling with these issues, and it's every company, no matter what their size, are facing some significant challenges. And in fact, among Fortune 500 alone, who we would all expect to be in the vanguard of trying to understand and manage this problem, 85% of them, Gartner suggests, will still fail to effectively exploit this big issue from a competitive point of view in the next 3 years. What does this mean from standpoint? Well, what we're talking about here is that nearly every organization is contending with the challenges associated with trying to cost-effectively integrate multiple application systems and data sources across the cloud and on-premises world. So the data integration challenge is only getting more acute. And while Saugatuck did a great job a couple years ago of quantifying the priority of integration as was vested among IT and business decision makers in terms of their priorities, and found that a third of the business executives surveyed back in 2009 recognized integration to be their top concern when it comes to SaaS deployment and use. Strategies also did a survey in the past couple of months, and we surveyed the SaaS and cloud vendors themselves, and discovered that 88% of them are finding that integration is probably the biggest hurdle they face when it comes to winning new customers and expanding their penetration into existing accounts. And about two-thirds of those same companies said that integration was a critical part now of their solution, and probably the most time-consuming as well, according to 80% of those companies. So integration is not only affecting the end user, but it's affecting the integration of the solutions themselves and therefore the vendors as well. So this integration issue is front and center. And what we want to do is talk about how cloud-based integration solutions can in fact help to ease this increasing pressure that's facing the entire cloud movement. Because as we see it, these cloud-based integration solutions can help to eliminate a lot of the upfront procurement and deployment and management challenges that have been inherent in traditional on-premises systems and software. We think it can also help, therefore, to accelerate the implementation process and reduce the staff administration requirements along the way. And obviously, if we're able to accomplish that, we can also help to reduce the costs and associated risks of adopting new applications and functionality in organizations of all sizes. And we also expect that if these kinds of solutions are employed properly, it can increase the data quality, productivity, collaboration, and measurement capabilities of the companies who are involved from a performance standpoint. So what we want to do is find out what our panel thinks about these ideas. And as I said before, we really have an unusual opportunity to get 4 distinct points of view when it comes to this integration issue. Who's going to tell us about what he's doing from a user perspective. We have Tom, who is one of the vanguard of information service providers, offering what many are referring to as data as a service. We have Aaron, who's got his hands dirty every day helping customers from a consulting point of view, and Darren, who has been helping to evangelize the latest technological developments in terms of the tool sets that are being offered in the cloud when it comes to integration. So what I have the privilege of doing now is passing the baton on to Andrew to tell us more about what PSA Insurance and Financial Services is doing in regards to these integration issues, and then we'll hear from the other guys, and then we're going to bring it all together and have a roundtable discussion about these topics and get you involved as well. So Aaron, take a couple moments and tell us about what you're seeing when it comes to these integration issues from your point of view.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for the opportunity to address this, Jeff. You know, what I tried to do with this diagram on the screen at the moment is really demonstrate how the cloud, and specifically Salesforce.com, has really become the center of PSA. Insurance Financial Services solution, what we've tried to do is build our cloud strategy and learn from something that happened in the past, which is that actually implemented Salesforce for the first time in 2008, 2009, and we made the mistake of implementing it as a standalone system. And what we learned from that is that without integration in place, was that with the integration, Salesforce.com was really just an extra step that our users needed to participate in, and they saw it much more as a hindrance rather than a help. What we as an organization learned was our users needed to see Salesforce and cloud application as a powerful tool that if they took the time to populate the account, lead or prospect and put that information into the system, that immediately the data would immediately be enriched with information that they did not already have. And it was a huge learning curve for us. So, looking at what's on the screen, what we really tried to do is using Salesforce as really the center of our organization. We've tried to make sure that through various data integration points, we've connected Salesforce and the data therein to external and internal data points, so that whenever one of our users take time to correctly enter, whether it be a prospect or an existing customer, into Salesforce, that information is immediately enriched and he's provided with feedback that he didn't have before. And what we realized from that is that has massively increased our adoption curve, which is a huge win for the organization that's making an investment like that today. So really, if you look at the various systems that we implemented, Salesforce.com is one of them. We're doing all of our business analytics in the cloud using good data. We're utilizing Amazon Web Services for our recovery infrastructure, which has been a massive win. And coming up over the next 12 months, we're going to be introducing marketing automation in the cloud. We're moving our corporate websites, both internal and external, to the cloud using Salesforce sites. And we're transitioning from Exchange 2010, which has been our standard email product for a long time, into Google Apps. And you're seeing something like Google Apps really start to provide a suite of services that they didn't provide before, all cloud-based, whether it be email encryption or data archiving. So from PSA Financial's point of view, we see ourselves accelerating towards the cloud and away from legacy applications in our data center.
Yeah, there may be a number of folks who don't know the size and scale of your organization. Can you spend a couple moments telling us about them?
Absolutely. As an organization, we probably have a revenue somewhere in the region of about $30 million a year. So we're not a large organization. We have about 150 associates, mostly located in a single location just north of Baltimore in Hunt Valley. But definitely have a very aggressive growth strategy that will see us expanding geographically really over the next 24 to 48 months. And so in our strategy, we really are preparing ourselves for the ability to expand seamlessly without to really connect to infrastructure that exists in our existing Hunt Valley location.
And what kind of tool did you use to bring all this together? Was it the Informatica cloud?
That's a really good question. We immediately that a lot of our information, especially revenue data and client data, existed in data silos that in our local data center, and we really needed a seamless method to move data from those data silos, especially into Salesforce.com. And as pointed out, there we used Informatica Cloud, and really it's proven itself to be a tremendous tool for us, because not only has it enabled us to move data from our data center and the various data that exist therein to Salesforce, but enabled us to move data from Salesforce back into our back-end systems, which has been another reason why we've seen adoption of Salesforce.com and other systems rise as quickly as we have, because we've actually managed using the Informatica product to make our workflow processes extend all the way across both our legacy systems right the way out to the cloud and back, which has been a massive win.
It sounds that way, and it is, as you said, as much about being able to align these systems and data sources with those business processes as it is about the technological aspects of integration alone, and being able to use a tool that permits that to happen is essential for success, I would think.
Absolutely. Ultimately, at the end of the day, for our users to trust a system, to use a system, they need to know that not only is the data correct, but the data is accurate, and that they see Salesforce.com as a partner. Because, for you, an example, one of the products we use, which is a cloud-based product, which is from a company called Branchit, and the Exchange server. I don't know what it was at last count, but we probably have about a million emails in play at any one time in our information store. And so the way that works is you'll simply enter a lead or an account into Salesforce.com, and immediately receive feedback right in Salesforce.com relating to any existing relationships that can be gleaned from data mining of our email data. So you can imagine you go from knowing maybe a URL and a company name and a telephone number to knowing that somebody within your organization has an existing relationship with a prospect, which is huge. From the Informatica cloud, the ability to immediately pull revenue data to understand what practices we currently have business with a particular client, accurately in Salesforce.com using Informatica Cloud. That information is updated every 15 minutes. It's just been a huge win for our organization.
All right, that's great. So I'm going to get back to you during the roundtable discussion, so don't go too far away, but that gives us a sense of today's realities from a user point of view. That is, I think you'd agree, the cloud is real and it's already working for you. You got plenty more planned for 2012. Talk to Tom. Tom, you're looking at this from a different angle. You've begun to transform the nature of your business by using these integration tools and the cloud as a delivery mechanism to provide data as a service, that is information in a new way. Tell us about what's going on in your world and what you're seeing from an industry perspective.
Well, thank you. First of all, the industry is dramatically changing, and I pointed out something in his description of the services where he said he's using Informatica to pull data from his downstream systems up into Salesforce and then sending it back. And the services is trying to improve that downstream interaction to be more at the entry point where quality data coming into the organization's applications is actually driving new activity, new changes in the way that you get the quality data at the entry point, but you're actually using that data at the entry point to go look in those downstream systems and then pull data as needed. So it's a different method. And what D&B is doing is D&B is partnering with places like Salesforce, Microsoft, and Oracle, and we're embedding our data service in the software. And just company data, contact data, social data. You think about that, and you talk about your data quality problems and the challenges of integrating data, third-party data, D&B data. It's a lot of work, ETL data integration. But if we can get the software like we have it with Salesforce, where you create some D&B's database, in seconds you're creating a quality record. You use DUNS number to eliminate duplication, trying to see if it's already in your system. You're getting 100-plus fields of information around sales, marketing, risk, informing the user about the person and/or the company they're trying to do business with. We think it's dramatically going to change the way software works. And it's actually going to make the software, but the people, and then it makes the downstream integration that much easier. No longer will you have to input data into forms. Rather, you will select the data you want, get exactly what you want when you ask for it, and it will be accurate and complete. No longer will you have to look at the data, try and figure out what it means. Rather, the data will tell you something before you even know what you're looking for in order for you to figure out what your next business move is. And data as a service is going to change a lot of other different things too. No longer will companies have to aggregate disparate data downstream to intelligence. The DUNS number can be used as a way to look for other DUNS numbers in either this system or other systems and quickly aggregate, not just at the DUNS level, but our family trees and hierarchies, to almost instantly give a 360-degree view of that information back to a user. Data services is going to change the way people, software, and data work together in the near future. And I think the value out of it, it's going to change everybody's downstream apps and everybody's existing process, but the value is ability to integrate data anywhere, real-time, on-demand access, flexible and customizable, and efficiencies in time and cost are going to be real big values that come out of that data as a service solution.
Now, it's my understanding you rolled this capability, this new data as a service capability out in the past year or so. What's the response to it?
Phenomenal. Turnkey solution. Some of the words, easy. One customer actually said, a Salesforce customer who had the data embedded, said it's almost like you expected the search and a list of companies to come back. You almost expected it to be there. One customer compared it to, it used to go to the doctor's office, and every time they give me a form, I'd walk and have to fill that damn form out. Frustrating. Now what you've done in the business world, you've eliminated filling out the form. I'm pulling in information. It's easy, and that's raising the adoption rate of user bases who are inside of these products where data as a service is living.
And without giving away any company secrets in terms of what you're planning on doing as a company in 2012, at least tell us what you think is going to be happening in the year to come from a data as a service point of view that you think people should keep an eye out for.
So a couple things. I mean, data as a service is going to start to show up in a lot of products. I think out of the box, search before create is the future, one. Two, D&B is going to become the largest data brokerage in the cloud. So today we already have major companies, 200 million global companies. We have millions of family trees and hierarchies that tie those companies together, even when they're not called the same company. Perot is a subsidiary of Dell, right? That's important to know. We already have aggregation of contact data tied to DUNS numbers, and I think you're going to see more social data, other data sets, and when we broker that data, and people consume that service, become the one-stop shop. Nobody has to go and buy separate sets of data anymore and then try to aggregate it up and try to master it. It's there. It's ready to be used. I can query one company, and I can almost ask for any piece of information about that company in the world.
Hey, a quick question from a member of our audience asking a specific question about data quality. Tell us what all this means from a data quality point of view and how you're managing the quality of that data since it's all real time now.
Well, so the first thing is, D&B, address validation, postal data, all the data we have is high-quality data. When you use data as a service, you're actually getting a quality record from us. We're giving you name, address, city, state, phone number, zip, and we're populating it into your out-of-the-box client table, if you will, and that data is your data. Then append D&B data, so the data you don't have, D&B has, but the quality information is going to go up because we'll find a way to synchronize your record with our record, or using our data, you create new records with our data, and you're starting out with quality information. So no more are we downstream address validating. You don't have to do that anymore with business data because D&B already gives it to you postal validated. No longer are we downstream looking for blank fields and trying to fill them in. They're already filled in at the entry point. So I think it changes the data quality game, and it tackles the Gartner $6 billion a year in losses due to data quality problem. And then you think about that quality at the entry point, that flows downstream to those systems. Think of the other downstream process you can eliminate. Savings, ROI, repurposing resources so you can do something more valuable related to a business driver, a business revenue number, or some other business activity for efficiency around process.
We're getting a pile of additional questions aimed at you, Tom, but I know we could give you the rest of the hour if you want to take it. But I'm going to just throw one more at you, and then we're going to move on. And that has to do with a quick question about, is there a SMB version of what you're doing? What I heard you say is that what you offer really can be used by anybody, but why don't you clarify that? point?
So just Salesforce.com, our partnership with Data.com, Salesforce has a wide base of, I think they have 3 million seats. I'm not sure how many customers exactly, but I think about 3 million seats across small business, middle business, enterprise business, the real large customers. Data as a service works for everyone. It's not built for the big boys anymore. We say, hey, you know what, D&B was always serving up to big boy companies, enterprise companies. No, this is a service where the smallest companies will be just as competitive with large companies. They'll have access to the same data set that the large companies have. They'll be able to see family trees for cross-sells, upsells, capturing greater share of wallet. They'll have access to contacts in real time and social data. So leveling the playing field. Small business can be just as almost equal, if you will, to the large businesses with data as a service embedded in software.
Tom, as always, good job. I'm going to put you off on the bench for a couple of moments while we move on to our next panelist, but you can come back and answer a few more questions for us, I'm sure, as we get into the Q&A part of this panel discussion. But thanks again. So let's move on, and what we're going to do next is we're going to hear from the guy who's rolling up his sleeves every day and working hand in hand with clients to sort through these questions and issues. Aaron, tell us what you guys at Astadia are seeing in the market and what you think it means to our webinar attendees as they start to look ahead to 2012.
And thanks for that. And as said, we're privileged to work with the technologies that we're talking about here on the call and many more, and even more privileged to work with our clients day in and day out to deliver the integrated enterprise. And a couple of primary focuses in doing so, one being around a business process perspective, what the users really need to enable their processes to perform better. And the component of that is much more technical in nature, and that's around the actual data architecture of the system. And not just the architecture of the data model within any given system like Salesforce.com, but it really speaks to the entire architecture of the system overall. And as Andrew spoke to earlier, it really is a critical component of not only adoption, but enabling the processes that the business really and truly needs, that you have an integrated enterprise to support that front-ending system. So one logs into Salesforce.com, the thing that one would think are naturally available to them are, instead of having to go to another system or get another spreadsheet or find a report someplace else. It really is all about building one single, one-stop cohesive solution to support your sales organization or your service organization, or with Salesforce.com as a platform and other cloud platforms that we use today, really to support any kind of operational business that you have within your enterprise. That we're really underpinned by a lot of cloud technologies that make all of that capable. And from a trend perspective, we're seeing a whole lot of movement with respect to advanced analytics. We'll talk a bit later, I think, more on the roundtable about this, but advanced analytics really are ready for prime time. We're seeing a lot of movement with respect to analytics in the marketing space. You can rest assured that your competitors are out there learning new and different and better ways to not only look at their marketing performance, but really start to take a look at how they can model and develop better strategies to reach their customers in a more impactful way. And a big part of that is, in fact, the social enterprise. And as you mentioned at top, Jeff, there's this huge of data. Obviously, the term that we all hear a lot of, if you're not familiar, big data. And it is going to be a race for the enterprise to figure out how to cull through that information to make the best use of it. And part of that is a business question and a strategy question, and certainly part of that is a technology question. And the technologies we're talking about here today, and especially I'll point out the Informatica Cloud, are really key and a component to building that good enterprise, but also to culling through and make sense of that big data in conjunction with some of these prime time analytics platforms that are coming onto the market or have been on the market and are maturing to the point where they're overcoming, usurping what traditionally has been your on-premise BI stack.
Hey, Aaron, sometimes when people hear the term big data, they think it only relates to big companies. But the way I always put it is, big is a relative term. No matter how big you are, you will probably be facing an explosive growth of data at your own proportions, so to speak. And whatever that might be, it's probably going to be more than you're used to, and you're going to have to do a lot more than you used to as a result to try to better manage those resources. Talk a little bit more about the range of engagements you've had recently in which you've been contending with these issues and how you've gone about solving them with some of the latest tools that are out there.
The tools are certainly at hand, and they're solid. We're at a point now with cloud technologies that it's no longer a question, as been mentioned a couple times. We're trying to understand what their capabilities are, test their limits. We know they're solid. We know how we can plug those together, knit them together to build the appropriate business solution. I'll point towards, as I said earlier, it's really a business question as well, and that's where things like Astadia come into play and help our clients understand what data means to you, and not only what big data means to you, but what should you be looking at. You could certainly boil the ocean, and you could certainly look at everything, but it's critical that as we knit these technologies together, that we use that solution and point it in the correct direction. One areas that I'll point out, and I'm happy to say a couple of my colleagues are the forefront on, is around the social enterprise and social collaboration, not only internally to your organization, but learning how to better collaborate with your customers, with your clients. It's really starting to break the seams down between marketing, sales, service. It's all becoming really one cohesive unit conversation, and that's really what we've been trying to achieve with CRM for a long time. And the technologies we're looking at here today in Informatica Cloud are what makes that possible.
Hey, another thing, another myth about this market is that there are certain industries that are still shying away from moving to the cloud because of concerns around data privacy as well as compliance. And that may go a little bit beyond the purview of the question of integration. Tell us about what you're seeing in industries like healthcare, for instance.
Sure, healthcare is one, and you certainly see a couple of buzz terms that might raise that same question in Andrew's company's name.
Yep.
So all three of those verticals, we have those answers now. As far as security goes, the way I always look at it, Jeff, and it's maybe the really practical way to look at it, but a simple way nonetheless, is that your security is only as good as your IT group is. And not to say that companies don't have really good IT groups, but the companies that are building cloud applications, their livelihood, their organization is dependent on those cloud software as a service applications, delivering not only the correct feature set and the correct process set, but also doing that in a very secure fashion. And given that, there's obviously a strong focus, and they have really the brightest and best of breed architects working around how to secure that information, not only as it sits in these various systems, but also as it goes through integration pipes, as it were. Now, having said that, certainly it's kind of daily bread and butter for the Astadia Innovation and data architecture team to have focus around how we're transporting data, and that we're doing it in a responsible, and oftentimes when it comes to healthcare or finance, we're doing it in a compliant fashion. So, security and data governance, certainly a big topic, but no longer really a new topic with cloud technologies.
Great. All right, thanks. Hold on, we're going to get back to you and the rest of the guys for the round table, but we have one more piece of the puzzle to put into place, and that's getting Darren teed up to talk about what he's seeing in this marketplace, because it is the utilities like that which Informatica has put in place with this cloud offer, which sets the foundation really for all of this to happen from a unified platform perspective. So, Darren, give us your point of view about where we're at and where this marketplace is going.
Thanks, and thanks everyone for being here. It's a great panel, and I want to get to some of that interaction. So, very briefly, Informatica, publicly traded company, so continued growth, 20% growth year over year, and a lot of it has to do with the recognition of the importance of what we're talking about, of data. Your applications, your platforms, your infrastructure. At the end of the day, it's all about data, And our company is all about empowering organizations to maximize the return on data to drive top business imperatives. So we've been looking out at the trends and what's happening, and our CEO, Sohaib Abbasi, has been talking a lot about what we see as kind of a confluence of three big secular trends. There's the kind of bringing together of cloud, of social, of mobile, and this overarching theme of big data. So bringing together big transaction data, big interaction data, and then big data processing. And what we had to do 5 years ago now is really deliver integration in a more simplified fashion. We built a multi-tenant cloud service focused on ease of use for folks who don't necessarily have a lot of the traditional skills needed to manage and deliver data integration projects. And we unified our cloud service with our core underlying Informatica platform, so that you can scale this up and scale this out as your volumes grow, as your, the complexity data inevitably does grow. You can broaden to the overall Informatica platform, which is best in class. So that's what we're focused on. You can learn more at informaticacloud.com. But let's get to the panel.
All right, let's do that. I'm going to let you frame these predictions. These are predictions I know you came up with, Darren, and get everybody else to chime in on them. But give your thoughts about how you thought these 5 points were important.
Well, because I knew I was going to be talking to you all, and of course, with Tom Carlock on the phone, I had to start with data as a service. No, but I really believe that this, the information where you work, how you work, in a timely fashion is critical. And what D&B is doing, and some of the other initiatives around data.com, I think is a very exciting trend. I think master data management is kind of an inevitable evolution. As you start integrating more applications, you need to be back and look at a more holistic approach to dealing with your overall master data in your company. I think analytics is ripe for cloud computing. There's been a few stops and starts along the way, but I think it's an inevitable category to move to the cloud, and we're seeing some exciting things happening there. I know Aaron and Tom have lots to say about both of these topics. Collaboration is evolving from fairly point-to-point to really opening up to becoming a platform, and then I think Andrew is really well suited to what this means for folks in IT. How do you think about the business model change, the technical change, and the overall cultural change that cloud brings to bear?
Well, let's walk through that list with those guys in mind, and let's see what they have to say about it. So let's start with you, Tom. Tell us more about what you see in terms of data as a service, but most importantly, what you think our audience should be thinking about as they try to prepare for taking advantage of that broadening array of data as a service offerings that you and I'm sure others are going to be rolling out in 2012.
I think every customer I've met or partner I've met and talked with, the common theme after having a discussion about entry point data as a service and having parts like Informatica Cloud on the back end, refreshing it real time to keep the data synced, means that the quality of information at the entry point is always real time and it's always up to date. What they're thinking about is, okay, how does it change my corporate information factory? We look at all the other factories around the world, and I call them corporate information factories. That's what they are. Data's flowing in somewhere, and it's going downstream through the organization. Very similar to how Andrew kind of described his picture. They're thinking about that picture. So I'm hoping Andrew's listening to me and saying, man, if I had real-time data in Salesforce, maybe I'm not pushing it upstream and I'm checking it downstream, but that's what I see. I see customers rethinking their information factory processes. They're looking for efficiencies. They're looking for ways to gain insights and real-time, become predictive and proactive, and eliminate downstream efforts and downstream tools that were put in place to compensate for the lack of data quality and lack of process. I think all that's going to add up to cost savings and ROI back into the business over the next couple of years. When you think about data as a service, though, and how it's going to change the industry, people think differently. Look at MDM. Just a quick example. In 5 years, MDM is going to be dramatically different. If entry point data came in with a DUNS number, and a DUNS number was a trusted source, and an MDM system downstream, what would I have to match it again. It's already been matched to a DUNS record. So I think MDM still takes on the role of aggregation and creating golden records, not the heavy processing, what I call the washing machine dryer processing, right? Spinning cycles until you get the right matching done. If the data can be picked and selected early, MDM changes. Now, for records that do go to MDM, there's going to be a real-time MDM coming, a real-time match, the minute that record hits the MDM stage area. And if you find that record in a match with a DUNS record, you're automatically enriching that record and the source record it came from. And again, MDM becomes simpler. And when you don't have a good match, you do real-time data stewardship. And you use on-demand API-type data services that allow you to look up that record against a database like D&B's to find the right match and eliminate the downstream data problems and challenges. So I think that's where data service is going to change the thinking of people in general, but specifically in MDM, I think that MDM environment and software is going to dramatically simplify and become much more productive in a business environment in years to come.
Hey, Andrew, Tom mentioned your name as he was outlining that vision. What do you think?
I think Tim has an excellent point, and as I was listening to him, I was just thinking how true it is for our organization. I mean, I think if you think back to how difficult it was to go out, get a list, make sure that list was good, load that list into the system, and finally get it into the hands of your producers, what a challenge that was. And the ability for somebody today, simply from inside an interface that they're very comfortable with, to be able to go and with a few clicks, literally as using the example of the data.com service, which is augmented with MB, the ability just to bring that in, literally, just put it in and have a look at the contacts that are there and be, able to embellish the account is huge. I mean, it's really, really just it completely changes the paradigm. And one of the things that we talk about at PSA all the time is how quickly can we get to that first appointment. And whenever you think that you can pull information in, that you can understand what the contacts look like, and then cross-match those contacts to internal contacts that you already have within your organization, is just, I mean, it's a game changer. It's a complete and utter game changer for an organization like ours. So, what we really are doing is empowering our producers to self-serve. And efficiencies and speed to market, that's massive. That's just a huge win.
Now, there's also the analytics aspect of all of this. Have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, as I said, we've pushed our BI out to cloud using good data. And, I think, I'm not sure who it was earlier mentioned, but, when we implemented it, we were looking at a number of vendors out there. And to a small company like ours, initially, just into business analytics was going to cost us $50K out of the gate. By going with our base solution like good data, we came in at almost a tenth of that. It enabled us, and we obviously increased our investment over time. But, really the huge power of something like that is once you get your data into it, it's all browser-based, and we've been able to put those tools in the hands of our business analysts, which are not IT people at all. They're business analysts. And, I mean, it's just been incredible what those individuals have been able to produce, and ultimately it's produced real-world data, which has enabled us to grow our business. And at the end of the day, that's a win.
Aaron, you heard Andrew's individual story. You've probably heard that story and been a part of that story in multiple cases. So what are you seeing and hearing when it comes to these topics?
I love Jeff, and Andrew brought up a point that I think is worth highlighting, and that's around just the investment or the TCO story around making any one of these decisions around a cloud solution, integrating cloud solutions, or some of the on-prem, more classic type software IT procurement solutions that the enterprise has to make. Astadia spends a lot of time with our ears to the rail, not only around what technologies are out there, which should we be partnering with and knitting together for our clients. Moreover, what does the overall total cost of ownership of that solution look like for our clients? We need to and have to put in the right solution, but a solution that's also extensible. And as Andrew said, I'm happy to increase their spend over time as they start to realize the benefit of that solution. But what cloud brings to that table is it makes it very affordable. It gives a capability that never existed before with on-prem solutions to kind I don't say try before you buy, but certainly try something, get your feet wet, and make sure that that's the right direction. And if for what reason it isn't, or your business changes, your partner Astadia or others, or your IT group or your company can very quickly adjust and turn on a dime. And I think that's been critically important to the success of the cloud applications that are getting it. They're not just getting it technologically, but also getting it with regards to what they're delivering to their customers as a service.
I think the other point I'd just like to jump in there, Jeff, and just to add on to what was said there. One of the things that was absolutely critical to us is the fact that our service in the cloud was application agnostic. Because we realized as we initially started out wanting to really use the platform to our particular application data, and what we've realized over time is that the self-same business intelligence solution in the cloud can be used to slice and dice almost any data that we have in our organization. And you mentioned big data. One of the things at the moment is you don't know where that data is going to come from, because people are looking at new business solutions all the time, which ultimately lead to the accumulation of more data. And people want to integrate those solutions and slice and dice it. And you have an application-specific solution, because ultimately you don't know what the future looks like, and you don't know where that data is going to be coming from. So I think that's just that point that, you can get feet wet is huge, but also a lot of these solutions are application agnostic. They don't really care where your data comes from, as long as you can get it to the solution, which of course, is where things like Informatica Cloud come into play.
That's right, Andrew. That's where it all becomes circular. It comes right back around to Informatica Cloud, and having the capability to integrate across the enterprise common and consistent middleware layer to and between any of the solutions you have within that enterprise architecture. So I couldn't have said it better myself, and it really, as said, does all be a very circular story with respect to building and developing a maturity model around your cloud application stack.
Hey guys, we got to bring Darren in on that point, since he's Mr. Informatica, and he can tell us a little bit more about what he sees happening from a iPaaS point of view as we look at the tool becoming more of a platform and the extensibility of that platform facilitating more of this kind of integration.
Thanks. It's great to hear. I think it seems integration has certainly raised its profile, and it's becoming. I was at a Gartner conference 2 weeks ago, and one of the analysts said, you should be spending much more time thinking about your integration, because you're going to be spending more there, ultimately, whether it's time or resources on integration than on the applications. So many. I think for a long time, a lot of these cloud applications were coming in through the back door. They're coming in through maybe rogue groups, or that wasn't necessarily blessed by IT, and integration was kind of kicked down the curb. So it's really great to see the recognition that you need to build an overall integration strategy early, and that will really drive, as Andrew talked about, overall adoption and ROI. And just really quickly on the iPaaS, Gartner again has written a lot and is starting to write much more about integration platform as a service as a subset of the overall platform as a service category, and thinking about ways we can improve, kind of the over rapid implementation time, the connectivity to multiple applications, opening a cloud integration platform to developers for them to be able to bring their IP to the table, working with partners like Astadia, and also templates, being able to buy certain patterns and make them repeatable, very easy for customers and partners to take advantage of. So a lot of innovation coming in this space.
Yeah, and Aaron, I apologize for stepping on you there, but when you talk about those patterns, those actually help to support that idea of IT as a service as well, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good kind of tee up again for Andrew to talk about, how IT is changing. Are you going out and looking for pre-packaged solutions? Is that a draw for you, or are you looking to build yourself? How is that this computing changing thinking about build versus buy, and even the vendor relationships?
Absolutely. And Darren, one of the things that I think scares IT as they look at the cloud is the fact that they think they're going to be losing control. And I really disagree with that. I think that if you choose your partners correctly and you choose your applications correctly, you're actually going to enhance your control. Because a number of points were brought up earlier about the security that's now present in the cloud, the investments, the understanding of what's needed in the cloud. For instance, we're using Amazon Web Services to build out our entire disaster recovery. For example, for us, we're doing data encryption in the cloud, we're doing data backup in the cloud. But I think from an IT perspective, one of the things that is changing for IT is that ultimately, is business today need to make sure that IT has a seat at the table, because data, how you analyze data, the tools that you put in place, the middleware that you put in place is absolutely critical to the success of the organization. And unfortunately or fortunately, business users are focused on their segment of the business, whereas IT is in the perfect position to be able to understand what the needs of the business are right from A to Z. And I think that businesses that include IT at the table, that allow them to be participants in the big business decisions to make sure that the organization, from a strategic long-term view, are putting the right IT tools in place to be able to serve the business users, are going to be the ones that are going to come out of this whole new paradigm shift more successful than others.
Well, Andrew, I'm going to give you the last word on that point because I think it was a great one. And what I want to do is thank all of you guys for doing a terrific job. I knew this was going to be fun, but I didn't expect it to be this much fun when you're talking about something as dry as the topic of integration. But I think what you've all proven is that there's some very exciting opportunities that are being facilitated and actually enabled by integration in today's brave new world of the cloud, and I think that's goodness. So for folks who are still on the line, and we're hoping to have us answer your questions, if there are any lingering questions, we will certainly get back to you via email. In the meantime, you guys now have both the Twitter addresses or handles for these folks, and by the way, Think Strategies is simply that, at Think Strategies. We also give you their direct contact information via their websites. If you want to find out more about what these folks are doing, you can find it here. And then we don't have your website listed on this slide, but we do have a little bit more information about what Informatica Cloud is up to. Tell a bit about what you guys are doing at the moment and what you hope to be delivering to the marketplace in 2012.
Well, thanks, Jeff. And I would just put this up to point folks to, don't wait to integrate. I think hopefully that's the message that's across loud and clear. Think through the overall data strategy. I like what Tom talked about as in terms of a information factory. It's a good way, I think, to think about data and how it flows through your organization. I think Andrew, some great points about the changing role of IT, and I was at again this conference where one of the people kind of quipped that there's so much concern about security and privacy as it relates to the cloud. Often, that's more about job security than the real security issues. It kind of makes light of the potential problem, which you shouldn't do, but I think what you heard here is there's a lot of innovation going on here, and certainly as Aaron talked about, the state working with the largest organizations in the world, and also mid-sized organizations, helping them move in this direction. So exciting topic, and we're excited to be kind of the backbone for a lot of organizations, and will continue to be next year.
Well, and from Think Strategy's standpoint, we firmly believe that it's time to move to the cloud as well. So we would add to your little tagline there, Darren, don't wait to move to the cloud. And if you are going to move to the cloud, keep in mind that integration is a key to success in that migration process. So I want to thank you, Darren, for helping to put this together. I want to thank the rest of the guys for being a part of it. I want to thank all of you attendees for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen in to this discussion. I hope you found it worthwhile and invigorating. I also want to let you know that we will be posting an archived version of this webinar shortly, and we'll notify you when that's available, and we'll follow up with you to find out what you thought about this event. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to talk to you again soon, and I hope you all have a very good holiday season and a great new year. There's going to be exciting things happening in the cloud, and I hope you take full advantage of it. Thanks again.
Ladies and gentlemen, this does conclude our meeting for today. Thank you for your participation and your questions. You may now disconnect.
Still there?